Ugh. It's Tuesday. It's been another really long day. After work, we had a company party, and the band that I'm in performed. So I didn't get back to my apartment until like 9. So it's another day when I was gone for like 12 hours. Oh, let me tell you about the appointment this morning. It's an intake appointment for a program that I think I'm gonna do. Most of the questions were like about trauma in my past. They were kind of mental health questions. Trauma in my past, PTSD, history of mental illness, suicidal ideation. Um, and I told the counselor that she asked when was the last time I had thought about suicide, and I told her like I don't think I've gone a day without thinking about it since I was 12. And it's like 99% of the time it's just this kind of background idea. Uh, but it's pretty much always there, and nothing seems to make it go away. Counseling doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't make it go away. It can make it smaller, it can make it quieter, but doesn't make it go away. Counseling doesn't make it go away. Medication doesn't make it go away. I've been hospitalized, and that doesn't make it go away. Just nothing actually makes it go away. But I told the lady that I didn't think I'd gone a single day without thinking about it in some fashion since I was like 12. And she asked about alcohol and drug use, and I barely drink. Maybe a couple of times a year I'll have like one glass of wine or something, and I don't do drugs. I don't gamble. I'm just not interested in any of those things. None of them hold anything for me. Which I think is interesting because, like, genetically, my extended family, you see kind of a decent amount of addiction, alcoholism, gambling problems, uh, things like that, and I just have no interest in any of it. Nothing. I don't know. It's never really interested me. What else did we talk about in that appointment? Right, traumatic stuff from my past. And I said, well, I wasn't sure what to say to that question because there are things in my past that, especially childhood, that I think people would expect to be traumatic, but I don't really feel that. Like, when I was pretty young, I lived in the Middle East, in Lebanon, and in Yemen, some other places, but those two. It was southern Lebanon, and it was when we lived there. It was still occupied by Israel, and Hezbollah was, um, fighting back against them, against the Israeli occupiers. So I witnessed some violence then. And then in Yemen, it's just kind of a violent country, Yeah, shootouts in the street and stuff. Um, and I don't think it was traumatic. Frankly, I don't remember being that worried about it while it was happening. And then I would think that if it was traumatic, then whenever I thought about it, I would feel some kind of strong emotions, But I can think about all that stuff, that I witnessed, and it's just like a thing that happened. There's no especially strong emotions attached to it. So I don't think I have a trauma from my childhood. What else we talk about? Oh yeah, we talked about the fact that when Gabby told me she thought we should separate, that I felt like she owed me a discussion, at least a conversation, an explanation, something like that. And this counselor said so I said, I think, you know, if you've lived with someone for 8 years, I think you do owe them an explanation. You do owe them a conversation. And I'll stand by that. But this counselor at the end said something like, she thought I might have problematic views of entitlement or something like that, which is just ridiculous. How can you live someone with 8 years and not owe them a conversation? That doesn't make any sense. Being in a committed relationship means that you have obligations to this other person. That's what commitment means. A commitment is a promise, it's an obligation. And one of those obligations in any committed relationship, one of the obligations is that you don't just run off. You don't just disappear. You are obligated to try to fix things. You are obligated to have a fucking conversation about it. So no, I don't think I have a problematic view of entitlement. I think, here's what I think. I think that there is a problematic undercurrent of irresponsibility running through society right now, where people say things like, I don't owe you an explanation. I see this on LinkedIn quite a bit, and people will say something crazy and then they'll say, and I don't owe anyone an explanation. I'm like, yes you do. You owe people explanations for things that you say. Absolutely. If you're going to claim to believe something, you owe anybody that asks about it an explanation for why you believe that thing. Otherwise, you don't fucking believe it. It's just some bullshit you fucking made up. You owe people explanations. You owe people civility. You owe people safety. Whenever you're driving, you have an obligation to every other driver on the road to drive safely. We are all obligated to one another. That's what makes society work. All right? It's a web of mutual obligations. And that's with strangers. You are obligated to complete strangers. Of course, you have much stronger obligations to people that you're in relationships with, and much stronger obligations to people that you're married to. And it is unthinkably irresponsible to think that you don't owe your spouse an explanation for like anything that you do that hurts them. If you're late picking them up, you owe them an explanation. If you said you would take the trash out and then you don't, you owe them an explanation. And certainly if you think you're gonna suddenly separate the relationship, you definitely owe them an expla-fucking-nation. That's not entitlement. That's understanding what relationships are. I had myself pretty worked up. It was pretty upsetting. Yeah. But I'm working that in. I'm working on this artificial integrity thing. And I think this idea of commitment being obligation is important. And if you benefit from, as I was thinking about that this morning, if you benefit from a relationship, but you have no obligation to the other person or the other entity, that's kind of the definition of exploitation, right? You're taking all of the benefits. You're taking the benefits, but you're not upholding the obligation part. Every benefit comes with an obligation. Otherwise, you're just taking. It's exploitative. So yeah, I'm working on that. So it was helpful to think about it in that kind of context this morning. And then work was all right. It was very busy, a lot of meetings. Didn't really get anything done. Then I went to the party after and set up, and I talked to people, and it tried to be pretty social. It's hard sometimes. I feel like there are groups that maybe I don't fit in with so well socially. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking too much. And then we played the show, and it was very good, and I had a lot of fun playing it. Talked to the CEO. I like him pretty well as like an individual, so that's nice. And after the show ended, I went and talked to some more people, and I met some people that I didn't know before, but have similar roles to mine in a different part of the company, and we were just talking, and one of them asked me if I was married, and so I said, "Oh well, actually, I'm going through a divorce," and they were like, "Oh," and it got a little awkward, but we kind of talked about it a little bit, and and I mentioned that I'd moved into an apartment downtown, which I like, and I said the hard part is that, one of the hard things, there's a lot of hard things to be like, but we started talking about how I don't really have much furniture, but I don't feel like I can buy furniture because I don't know, with Gabby living at the house, but she's supposedly moving out, and I don't know what the furniture situation is, and for me, one of the things that I definitely don't want is to buy new furniture and then have Gabby say, "I don't want any of this furniture. Take all this furniture." And then I'll be like, "Well, I don't have anywhere to put that furniture." So I'm trying to avoid that. So like, I'm sleeping on an air mattress. I have like one chair, in my living room. Don't really have anything right now. And so we were talking about ways to alleviate that, and it was like, well, why not just buy like a cheap temporary mattress? We talked a lot about Facebook Marketplace. We were talking about these things with some people, and they were kind of good ideas, I guess. And then one of the ones that I just met, he was like, well, that's all good logistical stuff, but like, how are you emotionally? And that was really nice of him to go that direction with it, and I liked that. And I didn't know what to say. I told him that mostly I'm more okay than I thought I would be, but it kind of comes, emotions kind of come in waves, and most of the time I feel all right. But there are times when I'm not okay too. And you know what? It was nice to talk about that stuff. It's nice to talk about it and have people reply and have it like not be awkward, and have them be like sympathetic and helpful, and have it not feel like, I don't know, there's kind of a fear, I guess, that if there's a fear, I guess, that like it makes you a social failure, like getting divorced makes me some kind of social failure, like I'm, and maybe it stems back to other times when I've been abandoned by large groups of people, and it makes me nervous that if I mention it, that everybody's gonna turn away from me. So I think it helps to talk about it, and it especially helps that every time so far that I have talked about it, people have responded, I'm gonna say positively, not like, "Oh, good for you," but more like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, what can I do to help? Do you need somebody to talk to? I've had people, offer me, like, if there's anything I need for my new apartment, they'll be happy to help me out. Um, just all kinds of stuff. And it is really, really helpful to see people react in such a positive way to me telling them about something awful that's going on in my life. So it really does help a lot to talk about it. Like I said, this is the second day when I've been gone for like 12 hours, so I am exhausted, and I think I'm gonna end here, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.